It's 5:15, so I'm going to call the library board meeting to order. Can I have a roll call, please?
Sure. Nelson.
Here.
Reese.
Here.
McDaniel.
Here.
Anderson.
Here.
And then Goblin, Bonsonfield, and Stata. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is introduction of the Oregon School District Superintendent and new library board member, Dr. Shannon Anderson. So I want to welcome you. I thought maybe we could introduce ourselves just in case.
Yeah, that would be great.
Kelly, if
Kelly,
you
you
want.
should start.
I'm at the, I work here.
You can still introduce yourself.
I'm Kelly Allen, and I'm the Youth Services Librarian and Community Engagement Librarian. And
I'm Laura Reese. I work for OSD, and I've been on the board. I'm the treasurer. Am I the treasurer?
I think as a
Treasurer.
We just switched.
I read
Right,
just
minutes,
switched.
yeah.
Positions are listed at the bottom of the agenda. Everybody needs to refresh it.
I've been on the board for maybe 4 years. I'm not exactly sure. Something like that.
Well, I'm Jenny Nelson. I'm the vice president of the board. I'm running today because Coral's not here as the new president. And I honestly don't know how long I've been on the board here, but since I'm the vice president, I'm the longest serving member because you get that position for being the longest serving.
I'm Jennifer Way, I'm the library director.
I'm Lynn McDaniel. I am the village board representative. I'm also fairly new to the library board. This is my third meeting, something like that. But I've been on the village board for a couple of years now.
I'm Laura Dewey. I'm the tech services supervisor and admin assistant.
Okay. Thank you. Can I have a motion to adopt or amend the agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll start.
Awesome. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Awesome. We will have the agenda as stated. Community input? Okay. Okay, so consent agenda items. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes from the previous meeting?
So moved.
And I'll second.
Awesome. So there'll be 3 of us. So all in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed? Okay. And then review and payment of bills and accepting financial reports. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Maybe second.
Jennifer, any?
I apologize, I haven't gotten to meet with Shannon to go over kind of some of the basics yet, so I'm gonna maybe try to explain a little bit more detail just to make sure I'm covering bases, but be sure to ask any questions you may have since you're jumping right into things. So the top section is bills that we pay with our library budget. I'm happy to answer any question folks have. There is one bill for the first elevator inspection that got billed to our old address for some reason, even though we never had an elevator there. So that is a 2024 bill. But otherwise, everything is pretty standard. We also have, actually go this way instead of scrolling. We do have sections on our bills for the section here is for expenses paid with donations. A lot of our programming is sponsored by Friends of the Library, so those are paid with non-budget funds, which are just donation funds. And then we have some remaining funds from our donations related to our building project that we're using for capital needs related to adding enhancements to the current building. And then we are working on adding additional solar panels to the building, so we have a budget set aside for the additional solar panel project. And so any invoices for that are going to be separated out here so that we can track those for budgeting purposes. I'm happy to answer any questions anybody has about any of the invoices.
And the one in front of them is the updated.
Oh my goodness, yes. Also, because this is the earliest that our meeting happens in the month, it's very difficult with a monthly meeting to get all of our bills captured. So we did have 3 additions since your packet went out. The additions are on the print copy in front of you. The additions are for Bruce Company and J.M. Brennan for a service call. And then also we have a credit that we applied to the Cengage learning invoice.
So we'll be
It should
approving
be-
the printed version, just so
You'd
everybody's
be-
aware of
the
that.
printed version here, so those changes are occurring here. So it's the J.M. Brennan line here, Bruce Company, and then Cengage lines that are different than what you received in your packet.
And the financial reports at all.
So each month we also get a report from the village about our year-to-date expenses. There is a delay because they wait to pay bills until our meeting, and then they provide a report through the end of the prior month. So we only have reports through the end of May at this time, so there is a bit of a delay. It just summarizes for each account our actual, period actual is for that month, so it'd be for May, not for June or July as we're now. The year-to-date actual is the amount for a year, and then the budget amount is what was budgeted. So the first page in the packet is always a revenue. And then we have a separate report for the library operating fund is our operating budget, so that's the village approved budget. So we have the top portion is just for our regular operating expenses, and then the accounts at the bottom are for expenses related to the building facilities part, so utility bills, staff related to custodial work, electricity, phones, sewer, things like that. And then we have also this library fund is for non-taxpayer funds, I guess, so grants, donations, special funds that we manage that are aside from the village budget. So these funds vary from year to year, or not necessarily something we can count on, if that makes any sense. Happy to answer any questions anybody has, but this is just the current report through May 31st.
Questions? Then all in favor of approving payment of bills and accepting them? We did vote for it. It was first and second.
Okay, thank you.
All in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Awesome, thank you. Library director report.
So we just had some recent closures for Juneteenth and then Independence Day. Also, you may have saw that the library was closed on June 29th. We closed for part of the day due to a gas leak at the nearby intersection. We were getting a strong gas smell in the library, so we ended up evacuating staff and members of the public. We kind of got to the point where we had to make a call, so because we didn't know how long it would take to fix the leak, we did end up evacuating for the rest of the day just because of shift changes and all the communication we have to do when we close or change the direction that we're headed for the day. But thumbs up to the first responders and Alliance for responding very quickly and constructively to that challenge. We are still, we switched that new software earlier this year. We're still working on improving some challenges and just adjusting our workflow. There's some things that our library system is working with the vendor on trying to work through. Laura's been working on trying to get our electronic ordering set up, which is basically a way that we can send orders very efficiently and do things one time, whereas right now she's having had to do a lot of workarounds and doing multiple steps more than we would wish to do them. So we're hoping that that will be operational soon. She's one of the first people in her department to get that set up, so we're one of the first people, so there's not a lot of
Thank
other
you.
people to ask for help on that, as it's a new thing for our system. We have Leona and Sophia started as pages for us this June. In the summer, we're much busier with no school. As you can imagine, a lot of the families and children come here more in the summer without school. And so we have additional help to shelve and check in items during those busier summer months. We were also thrilled that Kelly got to attend the American Library Association conference in Chicago last month. It was her first national conference that she's attended. And we're lucky that there was no cost for us for her to attend because of a combination of a grant from the vendor that she received and then also a grant from our library system. So that was very exciting to have that opportunity for her. We have 2 vacant positions that we're working on filling, so we've been spending a lot of time this week reviewing applications, and we'll be working on getting interviews scheduled for those. Hoping to get those filled as soon as we can, probably sometime in August. While I was on vacation, Public Works, one of our vendors discovered an issue with the parking lot. And so the Public Works team is helping us investigate that. It's a very small space, but it's probably gonna involve 3 different specialties of vendors to come and investigate, and it's one of those things that we need to make sure that it's fixed correctly and that we don't underestimate the scale of the issue. So they're trying to see how big it is, so that they can fix it correctly. So that will be an unexpected repair at 2 years in, so that will have to come from our fund balance. Just wanted to make you aware. You probably saw the decorative orange cones outside. So that's why those are there. We will get that moving as soon as we can, but I just want to thank the Public Works team for their leadership, because they have much better contacts and can move that forward much quicker than I can because of those relationships. As you probably all remember, the intersection is under construction, so just a reminder of that for you and any library visitors. And
Have you seen that sort of impact on people who've been coming to the library at all, or?
because of our migration, we don't have all of our June statistics
Oh,
that we would
fair.
normally have. And June does tend to be our busier month, so it's a little bit hard at this point to know. I would imagine it has impacted our use in some respects, just because it does take longer for people going a certain way, or if they're not planning and they don't, are thinking about it. So I'm sure I would expect that it has, but I don't have the numbers to back that up yet.
Fair.
Yeah. That's all I have for the director's report.
Awesome. Can you go through the library events?
This is the same, we have one library event handout for all of our summer events, so if you looked at the packet last month, this is the same schedule that you saw last month for June and July both, but just want to put it in front of you again to remind you of all the excellent programming we have for all ages. Also, there's the reading component. If you have any questions, Kelly's here and she's perfect to answer any questions you might have, but there's just lots of opportunities to engage people of all ages in both the library and reading and literacy related activities.
Are you having fun?
Yeah, it's been a fun summer. Yeah, busy.
Statistics? I didn't see.
Statistics we do not have, in part because of some of the migration software issues, and then also because of how early it happened in the month and some staffing considerations with the holidays. So.
Okay, committee reports. The gazebo structure committee has not met. However, today I did get at least a quote from the designer to be able to help with that a little bit. So I'll be scheduling another meeting. Jennifer, you can help with that so we can talk through that quote. So that would be the update for the gazebo committee. Personnel committee. You guys did a great job last month, so congratulations. We have to find somebody, don't we? I think that's further down.
Yes.
Okay, communications, village board announcements. Anything you want to share?
No, our big announcement in this area is the construction and the incident, we'll call it, later, or a couple weeks ago. We kind of talked about it at the village board meeting on Monday. The contractors that were at the site were really impressed with the village fire and police response and how professional they were and assisting them and getting it kind of secured and safe as quickly as possible. So I'm glad that it was only one afternoon of closure for you guys, and hopefully it's the only literal bump in the road that we have on that project.
The school district announcements. Anything you want to share?
Yeah, I think the big thing is our summer school program started on Monday, and Oregon has a really unique summer school program, as I'm guessing you're already well aware of, but a lot of communities don't have the robust offerings that we have for our kids, so that's really an exciting intensive 4 weeks. But what a lot of people don't realize is we've also done a lot more for our older students with a lot of online options, and trying to make an easier pathway to graduation, and also give them a chance to maybe take some courses in the summer so then they can take more courses during the school year to free up their schedule. So that's been really exciting. And I also, as a school district, want to give a huge shout out to the programming that you have for our kids, especially our olders and like our tween ages. Also really unique. We don't see that in other communities, so that's something we've always really been grateful for.
Wonderful, thank you. I look at that.
Okay, awesome, thank you. Yeah, my kids have loved summer school, so. Okay, discussion and possible action items, amendment to library board bylaws.
So this is the, we had some bylaw discussions starting from our May meeting and decided that the only amendment that we discussed as of the last meeting was that we needed to remove, correct a typo. And so that is the only proposed amendment in front of you tonight, because of the way our bylaws are written, we have to provide written notice, which we have done for tonight. So if you wish to make this amendment, you can. If there are any other bylaws desired, we would have to wait till our next meeting and provide the written notice with 10 days prior to that meeting to make anything additional. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
We've gone through this previously, so are we okay?
It's pretty straightforward.
Mm-hmm.
I move that we approve the amendment to Article 6, Section 6 of the library board bylaws as written.
I will second it.
Excellent job citing things.
Yeah.
Any questions or
Jennifer, it's
discussion?
really easy, just read.
Any questions, discussions? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Awesome. We will have our updated bylaws then. Thank you for that. Ooh, purchase of a book bike. I'm guessing that's why you're here.
So I invited Kelly. This is something Kelly started working on like before the pandemic, and that we really wanted to have right when we moved to the new library. And then we got really busy right when we moved to the new library. And so now we are 2.5 years later trying to do some of the things that we wanted to get done right when we moved to the new library. So I invited Kelly. She's done a lot of work on this. She's had it almost ready to go the whole time, and then we just we're hoping to be able to give you enough information to be able to make a decision to move this forward and reach fruition. One of the things I do want to recognize is she got a grant in 2022 towards it, so that if we chose not to move forward with that, we would want to have some formal action one way or the other so that we could return that grant if we chose not to proceed with it. Kelly, I'm going to let you kind of just give a little background on the book bike since you did all the work on this.
Sure. Yeah, and I should also give a shout out to Peg Watson, who's on our adult services team. She helped with a lot of gathering of information, and she was also excited when she heard I wanted a book bike. She's like, I'll help you get us a book bike. And so, but yeah, a book bike is a bike that staff would use or train, or possibly in the future train volunteers. But the Oregon Public Library have a really strong outreach program to our community, bringing the library to the community, and we, host informational booths at like National Night Out, Monarch Festival, do story times at child care centers and 4Ks, book clubs at senior center, and educational presentations. And we're always looking for ways to just make it more exciting or draw people in. And well, especially now with this gorgeous library, we really want to bring a little of that magic out to the community. And so a book bike is a way to be that, there's someone's on a big tricycle with a big box, and it says Oregon Public Library, and setting up at your booth, and a great little mini library on wheels, and to just draw people's attention to our booth wherever we are, and just a conversation starter about just, I think it's also unique because we have more than just books here, and so just showing, I think the book bike also just shows that libraries are more than just books, and and no, not everyone wants to read the books online. People still want paper books and, you know, other, but just that kind of, bringing that specialness that I think our public library has out. Because now, right now, we usually just have like a table and chairs and maybe an umbrella to bring for our library booth. And actually the book bike would just, you gotta haul all this stuff, you gotta bring the table and have your wagon with all the other stuff in it. And now you could just, the book bike could be that storage, get the books in there, and you just, and it's gonna, the one we want is an e-assist bike. So that it'll be electric, so that we could haul all the stuff and then just open it up and like, we have some pictures, but the bike's like a tricycle, and then the bike is in front, and you can see that middle picture shows what like it would look like, or the one now with that it open, where it has a little a sign you could put displays, have the books on display that you're bringing for checkout, have where you can put our laptop, and we already have like staff laptops and that, and you know, sometimes you could just bring it where it doesn't have to be for checkout, just bringing it to like story time in a park and having that as my little setup stage. So it'll hopefully make just the process of hauling all the stuff we need to these outreach events a little more efficient when we're using it. And then, you know, there's already so many places that we already visit, like 4K kickoff picnic, the end of the year picnic. I was just at like the Prairie View end of summer, you know, National Night Out. I mean, we have stuff. Homecoming parade, we could maybe have it and be in it. You know, but right now there's already stuff in our programming, our outreach schedule, where the book bike would just be, instead of the table, get out the book bike and that, and so in Verona, Wanakee, Monona, all have book bikes, and they love them. They just say, you know, patrons love seeing the book bike around town, and it just makes checking out materials, getting library cards out more efficient and easier, and they just, Verona's like, yeah, we totally recommend getting one. And I'm a little competitive, I'm like, you gotta be better. Someone just said that they usually go to Verona, but they heard our story times were pretty cool, and they're gonna check them out. Right? So I'm like, so I try not to, we're all about sharing and collaborating, but sometimes I wanna, you know, we're awesome here. But yeah, that's pretty much it's just, I think, a tool to really enhance our outreach, but not add more onto staff. I mean, some additional would be, you know, just bike safety training would really be additional, I guess, to use it. But usually we have, you know, a couple staff members at most events, just because it's easier for talking and interacting with people. One would ride the book bike there, one would just use their car. And we already, you know, have procedures for that in place.
That's gonna be just a practical question, is like, how do you actually ride it to these places?
Yeah.
And transport it somehow?
Yeah.
And like, what about winter? And
So, yeah, it would be like of the warmer months,
Okay.
so we would use it. So usually like, well, April through October is pretty good, yeah. But yeah, and then and that's where a lot of our, besides like the book clubs and story times, a lot of the like outreach events are a lot of times during those warmer months.
I have a quick question, slash idea, suggestion, I don't know. I think this is really cool. I also think for the winter months, one of the photos that was on that scrolling, it clearly looks like it's parked inside.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
it would be fun, like, for, like, my kids would be like, oh, that's the book bike, and we see
Oh,
that in the
yeah.
summertime, like, obviously you have to prevent someone from, like, hopping on it. I think it's cute how they sort of, like,
Riding
prevented
around
that
the
by
library.
putting it there, but
on display.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's not a small thing, but like if it's possible to like have it inside,
just to like showcase something or just even be there as like something that the kids are like excited to see when they come in. It'd be nice to be able to like use it in the winter at least for like a display. Yeah, kind of like a show off. Like we have this thing and
No, I mean, I have friends that actually bike during the winter, so
that's
I
true,
always
right?
like, how do you bundle up? I know tires are a big thing with like that, the tires are huge, but yeah, I would think it would be great to have something like that on display.
Yeah.
And that, and we could always find some big stuffed animal to put it on there.
Right.
Elvis can do it.
Yeah.
He's probably not big enough.
No. But,
Okay, well, I think we're looking for a motion to approve the purchase of the book for the library outreach service with grants and donated funds, if anybody wants to make that motion.
Yeah, I just wanted to emphasize what Jenny said, that this would come from both that grant that Kelly got earlier, and then the remainder balance would come from donated funds to sponsor that.
Do you have to do the fundraising, or do you already have the funds?
We have donated
Oh,
funds
perfect.
in hand to do that.
Awesome. Then I would make a motion to approve the purchase of a book bike for library outreach services with grant and donated funds.
Second.
I will second that.
Questions, discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Awesome. And then you can go shopping, Kelly.
Liz, yeah, we've been working with the local bike shop.
Oh.
And then, hey, she's working on the desk tonight, so I get to run out and tell her, we got it! Now we gotta work on the rest of our checklist, no? Get trained and helmet fitting.
Yeah, thanks, Kelly.
Yeah, thank you. And then, have a fun meeting. Oh, I'm stuck.
Uh-oh, you have to
Funny.
say now. Okay, let's see, final design and authorization to bid the solar expansion project.
So many of you are familiar with this project. It's something we've been working on for a while. We had originally planned our building for more solar panels, but because of available funds and all the things that we needed to fit in the budget, we designed for it, but we're only able to include half of the panels that we wanted at that time. We got some funds from the Inflation Reduction Act, clean energy incentives that the village got for our original geothermal and solar. And a portion of that was set aside in our budget for the capital improvement plan through the village budget to fund additional solar panels here, which will go on the sloped roof on this side of the building, so that it would be visible from Alpine Parkway there, and it would about roughly double our capacity. And so we hired our original design team, OPN, and our original commissioning agent, which also includes our original engineer, which are all familiar with their building, our project, our energy, and the original design. And so they came up with design and are ready to bid out the additional panels for us. And if with your approval, they would put the project out to bid tomorrow. They want to get it out as soon as possible in hopes that we can get it operational yet in 2026. Sometimes the process for getting the solar up with the utility company can take a little while depending on what other projects and things they have in their workflow, but hopefully since we already have solar panels, it might be a little bit easier process. I don't know if that affects the timeline at all. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. We do have the drawings here, but again, it would be all the panels would go on the sloped roof above us. There would be none on the prairie side, just because that side is not conducive to generating electricity. This would also have a benefit of decreasing our monthly operating budget, which helps our overall operating budget, which is always a good thing in addition to being sustainable and responsible. We do also hope the way that they wrote the bid specs would be so that we hope that we could get the Inflation Reduction Act incentives again for this, which could be up to 30% of the purchase price, depending on if we get an additional bonus or not. So I'm happy to answer any questions. I might not know the answer if they're technical, but basically we'd be looking for your approval of these plans and then authorizing them to put it up to bid. You would have the ability to reject any bids if you choose not to proceed for any reason, or if something concerning came, they can always do a change order with the vendor if we need to make any substantive changes.
You want to make a motion to approve?
and this is just me not knowing enough about solar panels. If we're doing a phase 2 and we put this out to bid and we grant that to a different company manufacturer than phase 1,
Yes.
is that, are all solar panels kind of created equal?
So that's the specs, they are meant, what we design ties in with what we already have.
Okay.
It's probably just a different installer providing
Got
the
it.
same materials, if
Okay.
that makes sense.
And that will get tied into the phase 1 system, so you won't have to
Yes.
manage two
Yes.
different,
That's
okay,
a great question. So we because it's public construction of more than $50,000, we have to publicly bid it. We can't just hire back the company that originally did it.
Yeah,
And that's just intended to get us the best pricing.
yeah,
But they were able to spec the same model of inverter, so that
Okay.
would match potentially even the same one that we have now.
Okay.
So that would hopefully give us similar equipment. It's also gonna go through the same monitoring software, so we can log into the same account and see the performance of both systems all tied together.
okay,
And then our commissioning agent helped just make sure that the specs were fit to integrate with their current system and also to fit with the clean energy incentive requirements. Does that answer your question?
yes, it does,
Okay.
thank you. I will go ahead and make a motion to approve the plans for the solar phase 2 expansion project and authorize bidding of the project.
Second? Any questions, discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Awesome. Preliminary 2027 budget request.
So each year, we usually talk about the budget at our July meeting, and then typically we need to approve our budget at the August meeting. This year, our budget's due to the village August 14th, and our August meeting is August 12th. So that kind of just gives you a sense, this is kind of the first go round, and then there's so many numbers we don't have at this stage that it just kind of gives you a big picture view, and then we kind of finesse things for the August meeting, and if there's any decision items, we can, update those based on the conversation at that meeting. The village budget process, after we turn in our budgets to the village, they do a lot of their work behind the scenes with the village staff in August and September, and then the village board has a draft presentation of their budget in October. They do the majority of the village board work. The public hearing is usually the second meeting that they have in November. So that's kind of the overview of how things work. They have a really good process, very kind of focused schedule for that, so it makes things go as smoothly as it can when you're talking about budget situations. You did see a memo that kind of highlights and explains some of the key changes or things that you should expect to see in this budget, including some budget direction from the village. So I'm just going to skip ahead to that direction memo that they provided. And so they approved that this year, and I think last year was one of the first years they did that, just to provide guidance to departments about what their priorities are, and to try to just set expectations ahead of time. I just wanted to point out a couple of the items that they are focusing on, given that the operating referendum last year did not pass, this section I did quote in the memo, that they're trying to prioritize funding of continued services at existing levels. So, and then ongoing replacement and maintenance of existing infrastructure. So kind of just making sure what we have already in place is taken care of and continued, rather than new things. And then also you'll see me talk about later that they're as a starting point are trying to advance all employees one step on the compensation plan. So that's reflected in the numbers you'll see for staffing in the budget. They have some other helpful direction here, but those are kind of the main points I want to hit. And you see those echoed. I think I also included the email that went to department heads, and you'll see that kind of direction reflected here. Again, I highlighted some key points about prioritizing continued services at existing levels, and they're discouraging any additional costs that would be required for new programs, expanding services, or ongoing expenses. They do note a couple priority staff positions in their documentation that the village board approved, and one of those is a part-time library position. As you know, we've been talking about that since we moved, or even before we moved. We've been talking about library staffing needs, given that we're operating very differently than we did in terms of level of service and service quantities since before we moved. So those are kind of the village perspectives. If there might be any helpful information Lynn wants to add, you sure could share. But I think you guys did a great job.
You did a fantastic job summarizing that.
I'm gonna jump back to the kind of other big picture things from our operating perspective that kind of give you a sense where the village is coming from when they're making their decisions and prioritizing needs of all the different departments. So some good news, which we always like to get when we're talking about budget, is our revenue is expected to go up significantly. This is be the second budget cycle we're doing since we moved into our new building, and what you're seeing in increased revenue is directly tied to the increased usage numbers and increased operating costs that go into the formulas about how our county reimbursements are go into the funding formulas, I guess I should say. So one of our main sources of revenue outside of village funding is Dane County revenue. And they're projecting just over $100,000 increase for us for 2027, that's based on services provided in 2025. And they have a complex funding formula that includes a variety of things, including it's 3 years, how much our people that live in Oregon use other libraries, how much people in other municipalities like Fitchburg or Verona use our library, county residents use in general, their facility cost per square foot. So it's really complicated and hard to project, but we're excited to see that it's expected to go up, and again, that's a reflection of the increased use we've had in the new space. Likewise, our other county revenue is also expected to go up just over $9,000. That number, again, is calculated by funding formula and is for use of our library by people that live in adjacent counties and areas that don't have their own library. So that's great news. We also think that our copy revenue is doing better than expected, just because we have more people in the library, more people are making copies and using printing services. So I expect that number to go up, but I haven't gotten to that level of detail yet. So you'll probably see those changes a little more for next month. A couple expenses that also are going up or are included in the current version as going up, just so you can kind of see where we're at without some of the other details. So the wages and fringes you see, there's a spreadsheet later on, the wages and fringes you see are including the staff compensation adjustment that the village is suggesting for all employees. And so if they end up doing something different, we historically like to follow what they do as well, just for consistency. So that would be adjusted if they go up or down from that starting point. At least that's what we recommend to you to do. The other thing that you see included in our staffing numbers is we have employees who've made changes in their elections of health insurance. Each year there's open enrollment. Employees can make changes to their level of coverage. So we've had 2 employees opt or expect to opt to make changes to their plan for 2027. So we've included the changes that we anticipate happening. Again, in October, people have that choice, so anybody else could make a change that wouldn't be affected here, but this is what we know about so far. And then also the health insurance baseline is around 4 to 5% that we're seeing those costs go up for next year. They do have the numbers early again this year, which is helpful. The other item that I've included in its entirety right now, and again, this is something that'll be subject to change in the budget process, but we have started funding, in collaboration with the village, our 20-hour circulation library assistant position using donations in 2026, with the intent to work with the village to phase that position in over a few budget years, if needed. But the goal was to have at least $10,000 of that position funded in the 2027 budget. We have some backup safeguards in place should that not be able to proceed the way that we hope, just to make sure we can keep funding the position. But right now it's shown in the budget at the full cost being funded through the village, so you know, that may change as we have conversations and the village works through their other priorities. I'm gonna pause for any questions so far. The other thing that is going up that we know is our fees for the South Central Library System. There's two fees for infrastructure and our automated library software that are going up for next year. I explain a little more detail how those are calculated, but the bottom line is they're just increasing in part because of increased use. So that's important to know. So I put in your packet here, there's a lot that goes into our budget as any other budget. I should mention that the village again is asking for this worksheet that you have in your packet about just departmental challenges and stressors, given something that they're trying to just track and help prioritize what they decide. One of the questions they ask is if your department could have one thing, what would it be? And I would recommend that we indicate that it would be additional staffing.
People, more people.
But this is something you'll see, I'll bring back at least parts of this next month for you to see in more detail once we've had time to work on it. So here you also have a very detailed, to go with the spreadsheet, you have a detailed explanation of each of the revenues and expense accounts that we have. So you can learn more about each particular item or what does this include. I'm happy to talk about that as much or as little as you like tonight, knowing that we will have a chance to talk about it again next month when we have hopefully the full board present. So there's also a page for expenditures, talking about what goes into each one. If there's an increase, I have a little bullet that explains the reason for the increase for that particular account at the time. And then there's a couple notes that might seem out of place just because it's a draft. I left those to track for later until we're through the whole process. So the spreadsheet is kind of the numbers that is kind of the bottom line. So right now with the two increases in Dane County funding that we know about right now and the other county funding, we're looking at about $111,000 increase in our operating revenue, which is great news. So you can kind of see what makes up our revenue here. General property taxes and the county funding are the two largest portions of that. On page 50 of the packet, you can kind of see our operating expenses. And again, these are numbers we still need to look at. All the salaries, the items in blue are all the salaries and benefits. And again, those are including the health insurance changes and increases we know of so far to benefits, and then also including that new position at fully funded in this budget. So that is a significant increase, but also it is less than that increased revenue that we're getting. So it's a good year to have those additional costs because that increased revenue helps offset it. In some cases they're related, so that's helpful. There's not a lot of other, because of the direction from the village board and also just the numbers I know at this time, there's really not a lot of other increases shown here. But I'm happy to talk about anything you want to delve into in more depth.
Did we include anything for programming for this year, or did we not, because that would be considered a change?
Yeah, so there's currently no additional dollars for programming in this budget.
So just so you guys know, all of the programs you see at the library are funded by donations. So the Friends of the Library does a wonderful book sale that funds everything. most libraries don't rely solely on donations to be able to fund their programs, because that's a lot of what draws people to the library. So we're hoping to start putting some amount of money in our operating budget just in case the people decide not to buy books, or, you know, when Bills stopped doing their receipts, we lost a lot of funding, or like, so we were really hoping to put something in the budget just as a start to be able to hold, to help as a backstop, I guess. So I don't know if that's something we wanna think about, or
I apologize if I missed this, and I'm the new person trying to soak it all in.
100%.
The proposed budget, does that reflect the increase from the county, 111, I think it was, that you were talking about? Is that considered in the proposed budget?
Yeah, so this isn't a balanced budget yet, so
Okay.
I wanted to just show you the impact of the increases to the revenue.
Okay.
So this is showing this is the total in increased revenue with just the two numbers we know so far. And then the next part, the bottom here, is showing just the increases that we talked about with staffing and those numbers that we know so far, and that increase is around $71,000 with all the health insurance changes and that additional position and things like that. So the revenue we have is currently exceeding the increases by around $40,000. But it's not balanced, their top and bottom aren't balanced
Right,
yet.
and I know there's a lot of unknowns still,
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
okay.
So is that something we want to add next one, just in the request, or do you think it's not worth it if we've been told not to add things, knowing that we do have additional revenue and we are serving more people, and that's why we have the revenue? I don't know, putting even $1,000 or $1,500, you know, just something so we can start makes sense. I guess that would be my input, but you're the one that does the budget, so I don't know.
Can I ask a question? Will the village board get as thorough an explanation on the increased revenue as we're getting?
Martin usually does a good job about translating what I give to him into the packet. So I think he did a really nice write-up last year in the budget. Whether or not that'll be explained during the meeting in the same level of detail, you know, we can make sure if somebody asks a question, we can make sure that explanation is provided.
Yeah.
So I'd be happy to explain that.
Yeah.
But he generally does a really good job in his packet as well, so.
I'll tee you up maybe for that question, but to your point, I think, you know, the village board, understanding that there's increased revenue, not just because it's increased revenue, but because there's increased usage, you know, I think that is a great point, that it is still an ask, but it's an ask along with, you know, additional funds coming in, so.
That would be my only suggestion. Sometimes I think if we don't ask, we can't ever get it, so.
But it does seem like the timing, it's a good opportunity to slot something like that in because of that big increase in revenue.
It's really, like, I've had good budget years where we have increased revenue and that's when we ask, and I've had bad budget years where we've had to cut things, but I've never had a year where we've had increased revenue and aren't supposed to add anything. So it's a new territory for me, so, you know, it's hard to know the best way to navigate it, but we do wanna be, you know, wanna be good partners, but we also wanna ask for what we need so we can provide the best level of services, so. I will, work in a placeholder, or work in that, I think $1,000 is what you guys talked about for the next month's budget, for you to discuss more, and then, of course, the village, is always able to provide feedback, and, we can work from there, whether or not we decide to include it.
One more question. The desire to add the 20-hour-a-week position, is that reflected in that increase in salary and benefits?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's showing the full cost to salary and benefits for that additional position, assuming that it goes in the village budget. And that would be, ideal, but you saw the village is also hoping to add a number of positions. So
Yeah.
if it turns out they have to prioritize, they might need, sometimes they work a position in by funding it fully mid-year. So instead of a January 1 start date, that might start in July, just to save funding. So that's one approach they've taken. They might also choose to say, we want to fund these 2 positions and not these other 2 positions. So sometimes they have to pick and choose, what
Sure.
is more urgent too. So.
Sure.
Any other questions? These are all great questions, and I can't imagine trying to come to like your 3rd meeting and being like, oh, sure.
Yeah, no, I apologize. And usually I like to meet with people beforehand and give them a little bit better of a background.
Fantastic.
So.
And you do a wonderful job, Jennifer, of sharing all of like the explanations and everything. So I mean, I've always been amazed how you do all of this. So thank you for all of that work.
And I really appreciate the explanation of library budget accounts, those pages, really helpful.
Okay, well, there will be more next month, so we look forward to talking about budgets. Any future agenda items? I know I saw that next month we have to appoint a personnel committee, so if you want to think about doing that, it's super exciting, but think about that. And then our next meeting is Wednesday, August 12th. And with that, I would take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
I will second.
Awesome. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
We are adjourned at 6:06.